with a background that we share of DevOps and caring about learning and strategy and being intentional, all this stuff, the two of us got together and wanted to sort of bang our heads together around the topic of skills development. So my name is Ben Mosior. I do strategyteaming.com.
I'm Joel Tosi with dojoandco.com.
And the two of us care a lot about skills development in particular. I think there's a lot of ways that skills development is still stuck in this past of weird, like, course taking and
Yeah.
things you do for fun, I guess, but in the name of lifelong learning or what have you, which, I mean, lifelong learning is great, but if you're an organization looking to develop certain skills in certain directions within your staff, within your employees, gotta be doing something a little different. So with that as an opener, like Joel, like I'm opinionated. Where do you stand on that issue?
I'm pretty opinionated too.
Excellent. Okay, we can be opinionated together. So what's the
Yeah.
missing piece here, like for like large organizations, especially that are trying to push in a direction, like getting their staff in a direction, building new skills, new technologies, new practices? I mean, what are they missing?
I think there's this assumption that knowledge transfer is a thing. And,
Because we're beep
and-
boop computers passing ones and
exactly.
zeros to each other, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's this kind of misconception that knowledge transfer is a thing, and then also that knowledge transfer equals skill acquisition. I
Oh
make these
yeah.
jokes. Yeah, I make these jokes like when I'm talking at conferences where it's like, here, we're going to do a knowledge transfer. I'm going to pour all my knowledge into this glass of water and I'm going to hand it to you. Just drink it and then you'll have the knowledge.
And then it
Because
will be
that's like,
yours.
yeah, it's like such a strange metaphor, right? Like this idea that like knowledge is a personal creation thing. It becomes part of me because through a lived experience, whether it be through education, but it's usually through practice. And the concept that I could transfer my experience and you would have it is silly. It's just, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, so there's your opinion, dude. There
Yeah.
is no such thing as knowledge transfer.
Well, it's funny that you say like knowledge creation is a deeply personal thing because there's like a lot of academic work around this too, right? And I think it comes from both ends, right? From the academic side, like psychology or philosophy, like the idea of like knowledge creating firms. There's a book called Managing Flow, which is a collection of interesting ideas around this. And they're like firms differentiate themselves in what kind of futures they imagine and the knowledge that they create, what's beautiful, what's good, what they do in the world. And then on the flip side of that, you have like this very practical kind of expression of it, which is like from the big standpoint, knowledge is embodied. From the practical standpoint, that means you got to do stuff. So
You do.
like so you start with like the dojo concepts. I'm curious if you could kind of walk us through what makes that different from like click here and take the course and watch 30 minutes of videos before you fall asleep.
Yeah, the dojo concept is fundamentally just like immersive learning.
Mm.
And so it is, teams might have things that they want to learn, and that's good, and they should learn them. They need to learn them in the context of their work within the constraints of their organization, right? Because like you could say, I'm going to go learn how to do AWS, and you can take plenty of courses. And then when you get to your organization and all the policies don't allow you to do anything, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you have to learn kind of like what you can do in your context, and then ultimately how it helps you and your team build a product. Because if it
Mhm.
doesn't, like you said earlier, man, I love learning for learning. But if we're just doing that all the time just to say, did you spend your 40 hours this year learning? It's again, it's silly. And so so the dojo stuff, it's learning in the context of your work. I would also tell you there's two other kind of key things, which I'm sure you can jam, you dig as well. One is when we're building products, skills aren't isolated, right? And so
Right.
like so by that I mean like you can't just have the POs learn how to write stories and have the engineers learn how to write Jira tickets or whatever Jira does these days. I don't even know.
I don't
But
want to think about it.
exactly, but like those skills overlap. Like
Yes.
and so like we can't learn skills in isolation. So that's another thing we stress is it's not just like make that person better, it's make us collectively better, and these skills influence each other. The other thing I think is super important is like many times we don't know what we don't know. And so like if we're not if we're not aware in the moment that hey, something just kind of happened and we should probably pause and talk about what's happening right now, we miss a learning opportunity. And
Mm.
then worst case scenario, it amplifies itself and we get in this kind of vicious cycle of, bad things happening. So it's really it doesn't have to be a dojo. For me, it's like we learn together in our work. We reflect when things are hard. We kind of are aware of what's happening, and we don't think there's skill isolation because in complexity, there's no skill isolation.
Okay, this connects on a bunch of levels. So first of all, I'm thinking both the people and the skills are interconnected. They're like entangled. They're
Yeah,
all like a mush. There's no such thing as like a perfect little chunk of here's the skill and now you have it. I mean,
exactly.
potentially with like I don't know, learning to pick up bricks and put them down somewhere else. I suppose like that is you can if there's an activity that is so simple like operating a vending machine for example, then perhaps maybe there's a world to talk about that kind of version of it. But for the work that we're doing in organizations that are trying to build products, engaging with a complex system, right, that is the market. That means you don't know what it's going to do and whether it's going to respond this way or that way to the things that you put into it. In that context, like it's all a tangled mesh.
It is.
I have this skill, you have this skill, but we each only have like weird, fuzzy, different aspects of it. And in fact, we
Yeah.
might do that skill differently. And on top of that, it's not like our work is perfectly isolated anyway. There's not like my things and your things. Most of the time, we're like in a mush of things that we have to be doing together. So, what's the point of trying to pretend that they're isolated? I mean, the answer, of course, is that we just need to pretend things are simpler than they are. But how do we overcome that?
Yeah, acknowledge it. I mean, it's like the battle of my life, man. It's like this don't work. No,
Yeah.
no, we just gotta try harder. It's like I don't know. I mean, we like you mean we're both good friends with Elizabeth, and Elizabeth, I talk all the time around kind of like systems, as I know you do too, man. And it's
Yeah.
like, what are the prevailing perspectives that lead us to think that this is working and is successful, and what other options might there be? Sometimes it's a lot of rerouting. I don't think if you or myself or anybody asked any executives, you know, why individual skills. Nobody would say because like that guarantees we're going to be successful. No, like no one's going to be like that kind of myopic. They would say like we know that we need to improve in these areas, and so it's like cool. We need to improve in those areas. What are the skills that are influencing the gaps in those areas? And then we can start talking about it's bigger than this and it's bigger than this. And that's why I like
Yep.
some of the system stuff. It's big, man.
Yeah, and that's Elizabeth Hendrickson for those of you who want to follow those notes because she's fabulous on this stuff. And yeah, like the systems view is really interesting, but I think a lot of people don't have patience for it. At least a lot of executives don't. And that's, that sometimes that's okay. That's just the way things are. And so what we are then charged with doing is helping nudge them in a direction that still helps them take on some of that intertanglement that is
Yeah.
actually there, but perhaps the way that we present it is like in terms of first steps. It's like here, yes, you've decided that this is a skill that the organization needs to learn. You could honestly just focus on the next steps, which is like, okay, how do you learn stuff as an organization? And this is where like the alignment stuff. So the work that I do is a lot on alignment. It's like and secretly it's about strategy, but in order to align people, you have to do strategic work. And I think, for example, deciding that the organization is in need of a particular skill set is an interesting choice if like maybe that's not a choice that everyone would make. So we
Yeah.
need skill X. Well, how does your organization learn skill X? The hammers they reach for,
Horses.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What you're arguing for though instead is concrete experiences doing the actual work where there's reflection embedded.
Yeah.
So tell me about what that looks like, especially to an executive who's saying like, "Well, shouldn't we just buy training? Won't that just fix it?" What's the essence of why learning in the work works?
Yeah. The easiest example that I think every organization struggles with is, well, I shouldn't say it might be harsh. A lot of organizations feel like they have quality issues,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so therefore we have quality issues. Therefore we have to learn how to do test automation. And therefore, and then you kind of see how that kind of
Oh yeah.
spirals out of control. Yeah. And so then what happens is, yeah, I know you do a lot of architecture work too, Ben. And if the systems aren't designed to be testable, and then all of a sudden you just dump a bunch of automation testing on top of it, all it means is now we spend a lot of time guessing if the test automation broke or our code broke, and then you go slower and slower and slower. But everybody's like, we spent so much money on test automation, what happened? It's because we didn't understand the cause. And so when I think about that, it's like I've had numerous organizations and teams where they want to talk about quality, they want to talk about speed, and then by actually learning what's causing the quality problems, it's the way we set up test data, it's the coupling of the architecture, it's this, and then as we start doing these small pieces, you start to realize you get what you wanted, and everybody learned, and it's better, exponentially better, right? And you didn't have to kind of create 10 new teams to support it. Like the teams can do it on their own now. And it's like with test data, with pipelines, with even with product stuff, it's, if we're just assuming we're always doing the right things because we don't know how to learn when we should stop building something, like we can learn design thinking forever. If we don't do it and all we do is say, this is the only thing we can build, right? We like,
What are we
you can
doing?
have all the personas you want. If you don't, if you don't know how to do it, it doesn't matter. And so like I think that's the thing is lots of organizations are spending millions of dollars and not getting the results they want.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is like spend a lot less and get better results.
Well, it's kind of counterintuitive though, right? Because on paper, education in the form of like a course or something has a fee, and then all you have to
Yeah.
do is check whether someone did it or not, which, by the way, even organizations that profess that that is the right way to do learning do not do that step. They don't even
Yes.
know if the folks actually use the materials that they buy. What you're arguing for is a little bit more ambiguous, right? Like, let's get into a room and do some work and reflect on that work. That just sounds like unquantifiable, fuzzy, fluffy thinking, right? But I actually
Yeah.
would argue that it's
Hippy dippy
not.
stuff.
This is where actually the two of us have some overlapping approaches. So strategy teaming is based on the concept of teaming, which I'm borrowing from software teaming,
Woody and Kevin and yeah.
aka mom programming. And I've spoken with Woody and talked through a lot of this stuff with him to make sure that philosophically we were aligned and like that I was actually on the right track with this. And the answer is yes. And in fact, doing things as a group of people together somehow means that the quality is improved, means that the knowledge that needs to be shared across people is improved, means that the right people learn the right things at the right time. Whoa.
Yeah.
Now,
Crazy, right?
quantifying that
Yeah.
is not as simple as saying I paid this many dollars for a line item for a course. But I'm interested in how we can sort of surface the night and day difference. And I have a suspicion that it has to do with the results. So I'm curious, like from your angle, when you do this work with teams, what's the before and the after? And how long until you start to see that after?
Yeah, it's a great question. We always, when we're working with teams, usually we start with the organizational kind of outcomes. And so
Mm,
then we have kind of, organizational narratives that we're trying to get better at, quality, time to market, those kinds of things.
mm-hmm.
Then you get with a team and you're trying to say like, what's hard here that's making it hard to achieve these goals?
Mm,
So in the best case scenarios, it's always around kind of like those macro level outcomes,
yeah.
right? And so like we have quantifiable measures. Now, is anybody ever going to say the thing they learned on day two in week one, right, is the thing that made like we are never going to get that kind of causation and correlation. It's just not going to happen. But very easily, like before working with the team, we're going to get a baseline
Mm-hmm.
of
Yep.
whatever the kind of goal is, right? Cycle time, time to market, customer satisfaction, whatever we're trying to improve upon. get into it, learn what's hard about it, and then at the end of it, we're trying to quantify exactly the improvement and the deltas.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you're saying, sometimes those deltas are immediate. Sometimes it's like it's an investment like 6 months later where that starts getting the payoff, right? If you're doing anything architecturally, I don't know if you're going to get a turnaround in a month, right? You're not going to see it. But like
Yep.
it's because it's a long pull. It's a long horizon. So like it's always around outcomes. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you kind of teetered on it. Do you ever talk to groups and organizations about like Kirkpatrick models and those kinds of things?
Kirkpatrick models? No, tell me more.
Oh, the Kirkpatrick model is like a big thing in the L&D space where it's like level one is like the people liked what they learned, right? It's
Uh,
not even like did they learn something. Level two is they feel like they learned something. Level three is a behavior change, and level four is an organizational impact. And if you talk to any groups about this, everybody will say, yeah, like sometimes we measure level one. And it's just like, so all you're doing is saying people took 40 hours this week and they had a good time. Like it's like, so I just want to skip it. I want to skip it
yeah.
off the bat and just say it's always 3 and 4.
Yep.
If
What are
we're
you
trying, if
doing?
we're working with a team around like TDD, it's fine. Like there's plenty of people who've gone to TDD classes and then never
Yeah.
practiced it in their life, right? But if we can be with teams and they can see like when it helps them and why it helps them and they decide when to apply it, then you win, you know? And that's the,
Exactly.
I want L3 and L4 all the time, man.
Yeah. 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 I think you have to start at doing things differently in order to
Yeah.
prompt the moments where you can start to appreciate why you might want some of the theory behind it. And
Yeah.
so some of the things I've talked to Dr. J. Bloom about, he's always pointing at things like there's a Kolb loop, the person named Kolb, Kolb, and they describes
Mhm.
having like concrete experiences, right? And like that is the foundation of the whole thing is concrete experiences that you reflect on
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
and
exactly.
and then like you can fill in the blanks. It's like, okay, so I'm sitting down with you, Joel. You're teaching me test driven development, and we're actually working on something that the organization wants.
Yeah.
Could be that we're working on a nasty bit of a system that we're trying to like increase the ability for us to change the code more in the future. Okay, so we figured out what this little function does. Now we're carving it out, and now you've had me write some tests around some of the basic ideas, and I'm like, "Hey Joel, why do we need 10 tests for one function?" And then you're like, "I've got an answer for that. So
Yeah.
glad you asked." But the question came from
Yeah,
my
exactly.
interest, and now I'm going to remember that because I inherently know,
Yeah.
personally know why that kind of thing matters.
Yeah, you experienced it, you had the trigger. It's all those things. I mean, that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
so
what makes it
Joel,
stick, you know?
yes, it's what makes it stick. And so now I'm really curious because whenever I talk to people about what to do next, I'm always saying things like have a hard conversation about this topic or try this exercise from the pip deck that I wrote or whatever. What is your version of like here's a taste that you could try to feel the magic of this?
I think there's the two quick answers for you there. One, if you're a software team, and by team I mean a team, not just a couple I think the people, the product, you know, everybody together, get together and do a teaming session, but like incorporate the product people and ask them how to name things and ask them why they would name things a certain way and kind of like you kind of grow that common language, you know, kind of across the group. If that feels too fluffy, one of my favorite teams, they got together to work on a bug. Engineer comes in and says, "Here's the bug and here's the fix." And does everybody agree? And everybody goes, "I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree." And so they're just going to commit it and move on. I go, "Hold on, let's just take a pause here." I go, "What did you all see that made you agree? Like tell me what you appreciate about the solution." 8 people on the team, we got 80 different answers. And I thought that was a beautiful entry because now it was like, what does good mean to you? One person said,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's fixed and I don't have to deal with it. One person said, it's got a test. I like the fact that we have test. One person said, I understand the business logic because they use good variable namings. It's like now we can start learning together because now we have different perspectives and now we appreciate them. So sometimes it's as simple as that, just kind of taking a pause and saying, when you see this, what do you think? And what are your perspectives on this and getting that cross understanding? Start there. That's pretty cool.
Big fan of reflection. It's so
Yeah.
important for actually making the work that we just did together meaningful and something that
Yeah.
will last. Personally learned, one might even
Yeah.
say.
I mean, we talked a lot about the team level, but I'm sure like with the strategic stuff you're doing at the executive level, I'd imagine it's a lot around the same kind of ideas, kind of
Oh,
exposing
yes.
assumptions, talking about assumptions, having shared experiences, kind of like why do we think this and what's biasing us a certain way. Usually it's
Yeah.
not about the solution, it's about the problem. How do we reframe, you know?
Yep. A lot of our focus on leadership work is about helping leaders show the situation rather than telling people what to do,
Oh, I
reveal what
love
is
that.
happening in the situation so that people can then respond to it. And then the leader is there to coach because the way that they respond is going to be different than what is appropriate for the situation and often implicates a skill gap. And
Yeah.
what better way to learn than being in the moment when you need to apply skills, to improve judgment, to make the right call. And then right there is your coach with you
Yeah.
to guide you through the process. So there's a lot of overlaps here, and I'm this is so fun. The time
I love
flew
it too.
by. Joel, thank you. And just one more time, where can people find you?
Dojoandco.com.
dojoandco.com. There'll be a link to that wherever the description is or where have you. And
Somewhere in this ether.
yes, this might be YouTube. This might be LinkedIn. Who knows? And as for myself, you can find out more about the work I do at strategyteaming.com. Joel, it's been an awesome
I
chance to
love it.
talk with you today. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, man.
All right, see ya.